Hey everybody, so we are continuing along with our season previews, and today we're going to talk about the Vancouver Canucks. Before we get into the video, I just quickly want to say, if you're not yet a subscriber to this channel, to please hit that subscribe button and follow along for my hockey content all season. And if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that like button. That really helps out a lot and is greatly appreciated. So the Vancouver Canucks, this is a team I've already talked quite a bit about this offseason. I expect them to make the playoffs this year. They made some really nice acquisitions in the offseason, bringing in Michael Furlan, bringing in JT Miller, bringing in Tyler Myers, and in overall a pretty weak division in the Pacific. This is a team now with the emergence of Elias Pettersson, Brock Besser, coming back, the Bo Horvat. Now you add those new players on top of it. This is a team that I expect to make the playoffs this year. They weren't that far off last year, and they've, in my mind, gotten significantly better this offseason. So this is a team that I do expect to make the playoffs. Let's take a look at their lineup here. For lineups, I use a combination of cap-friendly depth charts and daily face-off lines, and I just base it off of what those websites have. And if there's anything in particular I want to change, I might tweak something here or there, but for the most part, it's based off of them. So this is what we've got for Vancouver. Top line, Michael Furlan playing on the left side with Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. Michael Furlan was brought to Vancouver for two main reasons. One, he had a good year with Carolina last year. He had 17 goals and 40 points in 71 games. He can produce offensively as a power forward. He can be a 20-goal player if in the right situation. So it's not like he's here. It's not like he's, doesn't belong necessarily on that first line. He can produce offensively and score and be an important asset to the team. But there's an ulterior motive there, and that is to protect Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser. Pettersson missed time with injury last year. Brock Besser's missed time with injuries each of the past two seasons. Quite frankly, those two have been taken advantage of physically, and they have been pushed around a little bit. Michael Furlan is there playing on that line with them to stop that from happening, or at least punish the player who does it, because Pettersson got knocked around last season. Besser's been knocked around a little bit, and there hasn't been a whole lot done about it. Now they have Michael Furlan. Michael Furlan is a big guy, a physical player, not afraid to throw his weight around, and certainly not afraid to drop the gloves. So he is there kind of as a deterrent. I don't want to say as an enforcer, because he's not an enforcer. He's much better offensively than an enforcer. He's a power forward, and he can produce well, and I think playing with those two, he could produce maybe even better offensively. But he's also there for his physicality and for protection. And he is going to try and keep Pettersson and Besser safe and not injured this season. Moving down to the second line, we have Bo Horvat in the middle with JT Miller coming over from Tampa Bay on one side and Tanner Pearson on the other. Solid second line there. Horvat is a really, really good player. I don't think people realize how good Bo Horvat is. He is a tremendous, tremendous player, and it seems like he's been around for a long time. He's still only 24 years old. JT Miller coming over from Tampa. Miller didn't have a huge year last year. At times, he kind of felt like the odd one out with the Lightning, just because there was so much offense and so much talent in Tampa Bay, and there's only one puck to go around, and it seems like Miller kind of got the short end of the sticks at times last season with the Lightning. Now he's in Vancouver, where he is going to be a much bigger focal point of that offense and play a much bigger role offensively than what he did with the Lightning. I think he should be a 20-goal guy. He should be a 50-point guy. he should have a much better year offensively, numbers-wise, with this Canucks team, and they're going to need him to. He's going to need to be an important player for them on that second line. That leaves the third line with Nikolai Goldobin, Brandon Sutter, and Louis Eriksson. Eriksson, obviously not the player that he used to be, and now at 34 years old, on the decline. Brandon Sutter, real big-time injury issues, only played 26 games last year. If he can stay healthy, he can be a good third-line center, but staying healthy has been a big-time problem for them. And then Goldobin, I think 23 now, we could see a decent year out of him. That third line could be very good or could be very bad. It's going to depend a lot on health, and it's just going to depend on the kind of production they can get out of guys like Sutter and Eriksson. And that leaves the fourth line with Sven Baertschi, Jay Beagle at the center spot, and Jake Virtanen on the right side. Not a bad fourth line. A fourth line that could maybe give you some offense. Baertschi can score a little bit, and Virtanen can score a little bit if they play up to their potential and play well. But overall, this forward group, I think, is going to rely heavily on Pettersson and Besser, Horvat. Miller needs to have a good year. Michael Ferland needs to continue to produce offensively the way he did last season in Carolina. If they can do that, I think this can be a pretty darn good team. If they don't do that, then maybe they're not going to be as good as I think. I also think that there are a lot of potential for other players not listed in the starting lineup to win spots this preseason in the training camp and during preseason games if they play well. Because I think while some of these roster spots are pretty much guaranteed, especially in the top six, I think there are spots that are not guaranteed and that younger players or other players could come in and end up winning. Moving on to the defense, we have Alex Edler and Tyler Myers as your top pair. Myers coming over from Winnipeg now. He's going to be an important add to this team in making their defense better, which has been an issue the last couple of seasons, was their defense. Myers should help things there. Then you have Quinn Hughes and Chris Tanev as your second pair. That, in my mind, is a very, very good second pair. Chris Tanev, I think, is a very underrated defenseman and a lot better than people give him credit for. And then Hughes, this will be his first full NHL season. He's only 19, but he's an electric, dynamic player. He did play 5 games at the end of last year, but this is his first real crack at the NHL. And I think he could have a very, very strong season with Vancouver, especially playing with Tanev. And then your third pair, Jordy Ben coming over from the Montreal Canadiens, and Troy Stecher, who's been there for a few seasons now. Not a standout, spectacular defense core the way like Nashville has or Tampa Bay has or anything like that, but a pretty solid defense core there. I think the addition of Myers and Ben are going to help a lot. Ben really adds depth and solidifies that the bottom of the group. Myers, top 4 defenseman without a doubt, really going to help them a lot there. So I think their defense got better, their forwards got better. Jacob Markstrom and Thatcher Demko will be the duo in goal. Markstrom, I mean, he's not an elite goaltender. He's not a top 10 goaltender or anything like that, but he's a pretty solid starting goalie. I think he's good enough to do the job. And then Thatcher Demko, I think, now is getting his first real crack at a full-time NHL job. He only played 9 games last year, but had a .913 save percentage. And I think Demko is a guy at 23 years old that the organization wants to see really step up this season and show that he could potentially be the goaltender of the future. Because I think they really are banking on their long-term success is banking on Thatcher Demko being the goalie of the future. And he's going to get a real shot now this year to play as the full-time NHL backup. Maybe even if he plays really well, split starts with Markstrom and be well on his way to that full-time NHL starting job. But Markstrom, pretty good player in himself. So they've got a decent goaltender duo there. I'm gonna be watching Demko closely though, and just see what exactly do they have in him as an NHL goalie. So that gets us to extra players. And like I said, I think there are a lot of roster spots up for grabs, especially in this forward group, that other players could potentially come in and take. And some of those players include Antoine Roussel, who's injured right now, but at some point is going to be healthy. And he was brought in to be a fourth-line guy who can give you a little bit offensively in a bottom six role. He did have 30 points in 65 games last season. He can produce offensively, and he's not afraid to mix things up, drop the gloves, and get involved physically either. So when he's healthy, he could potentially get a fourth-line spot on this team. They still have Josh Lavo and Tim Schaller, who kind of are extra forwards for them and come in when someone gets injured. Those are kind of your depth guys. And then they have some young players like Adam Gaudette, who played 56 games last year. He could potentially take that third-line center spot away from Brandon Sutter if he has a really good training camp in preseason. Tyler Mott as well could play at the NHL level. Zach McEwen is a guy that, now at 23 is looking to make the NHL roster. And, they've got some young players there. Cole Lind is another one that comes to mind that that could potentially take spots away if they play well in the preseason. So this roster, and by no means I don't think is set, but I think is pretty good. They've got some top-end talent. They've got some really, really good young players that we all know about. Hughes, really, it's going to be interesting to see what he does this season. Besser, we know, can be really good. Pettersson, now in his second season, could, continue to get better and really have a breakout year. I like the veteran additions of JT Miller and Michael Furlan. Tyler Myers is a huge add on that back end. This is a team that absolutely got better. Oscar Fantenberg brought in. He'll probably be the seventh defenseman. Alex Biega is still there as a call-up if you need an eighth defenseman. So they've got some good depth now. They've got young players. They've got guys that they can call up if they need to. Overall, this is a team that I expect to be significantly improved. I think they're going to make the playoffs this year. I think they should make the playoffs this year, especially in that relatively weak Pacific Division. It's time for them to show me something, and they're going to be a fun team to watch this year, I think. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.